Hello, Deep Mindfulness Collective. This right here, right now, is the Joy of Being Alive stream coming to you live from Brooklyn, New York. And if you're with us from anywhere else on Earth, I want to hear about it. Where on Earth are you? Where are you? Where are you? Here's the new game. Where are you? And one piece of gratitude. One thing we're grateful for. And if you want to get really crazy, one detail about your current experiential environment. What's the actual environment like? I like this one piece I'm grateful for. So I am in BK. I spelled grateful wrong. Why is this not a word? Okay, I'm just putting my spelling mistakes in there just for fun. Ergonomic keyboard. Nice. Nice, nice. Okay, folks. Yeah, what's going on? Where are folks at? Where are you feeling this world from? I got a little bendy. For a long time, I've been trying to grow the mustache itself out so it's like longer, and I think it's gotten there, but now it's crazy. So, folks, where are you at? Where are folks joining us from? I'm still wearing my jeans, which was a mistake. Anytime I meditate with jeans on, my legs go to sleep, but that's neither here nor there. We got the doggy cam going. Should we get the doggy cam going? Is it time yet? Hey, doggy. Our doggy's here. Might as well. Okay, let's try this out. Hey, doggy. Let's get you on this cam. See, this toy has this crinkle sound. She loves that. Yeah, you know you want it. All right, let's get this game going. So, folks, hello from Montreal. Gabriel, great to see you. We're starting out with one, where we're at, one detail of our environment, and one thing we're grateful for. Boom. Getting weird right away. First thing in the morning. Oh, the dog won. Got the toy. Nope. Okay, Nick says, in my car, headed for home for my GF's 27th birthday. Grateful for cake and also her. That's so lovely. Congratulations. Send our love. Jean, I'm late. Good morning from Brooklyn and grateful for espresso. Jean, you missed it, but I said grateful for matcha, which I am grateful for. Here we are. A little of the good green stuff. There you go. You can see it was a little overexposed. The green foamy. What else here? Good morning from Kingston, Ontario. Rory, what are you grateful for this morning? Someone last time was grateful for dodging the question, which is, hey, that's totally valid. Oh, dog got interested in something else. Hey, babe, would you close the bedroom gate? Do you mind? Thank you. Our bedroom is wide open and therefore, available for dog attack, sock finding missions. Happy birthday to our Nick the Swede, and thought it was yours. Well, happy birthday anyway. Grateful for a warm house. Lovely, a nice warm house. Can't be beaten. Lovely as always. Okay, I'm just trying to recenter here. Okay, there we go. Let's turn this doggy cam off until the dog comes back. So, folks, today I wanted to work on, and I'm open for requests today because I have a vague idea of what I want to work on. I actually just want to guide what I want, what's going on for me, and I'm not even clear what that is yet, so that's sort of funny. Gabriel. See, it's a, I'm not sure gender-wise which the pronunciation is, so tell me. Gabriel, how do you, maybe Raquel, do you know what the spelling difference is between Gabriel and Gabrielle?
Gabriel and Gabrielle?
Gabrielle, is the end different? Is that the only?
Gabrielle is E-L-L-E.
Oh, so it's the end that's different. That's how you tell.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's Gabriel. Great. Perfect. Gabriel. Got him. unless you're going, unless it's just your screen name. Fresh snow here, and I'm grateful to listen to a good friend who released new music. That's so lovely. Gabriel in Montreal, fresh snow in Montreal. We want some fresh snow over here. And I think maybe because of COVID, there's fewer cars that'll turn black more slowly, which would be lovely, because that's the first thing that happens here in New York is the snow is beautiful for one day and then black for 20 days. Grateful for having, this is a sporty way to go, grateful for having a job that allows me to meditate while working. Hey, listen, you and me both. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. Let's, anytime, if anyone has a parallel, I'm trying to create a tradition here. This is super fun. If somebody has a parallel gratitude, we can just punch that up and reply and say, yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I feel. That way we have a nice circle of gratitude going on. P.S. The reason we're doing this is because statistically it increases people's sense of well-being, I believe it is, writing down things that they're grateful for. So, folks, what is it that I want to do today? If folks have a suggestion or things that they want to work on, it is not Freaky Friday, but we will take suggestions. Otherwise, I'm just going to guide kind of what's going on for me. Some emotion today, some sort of desire to have the mind settled, desire to have the system sort of be able to metabolize emotion. And I think that, you know what I want to do? This is, if I were to pick, is to attend to the resistance to emotional, material. I want to attend to the difference between me and this little schnoofy. Hi, little schnoofy. Oh, she doesn't like being in this camera. She's very shy. What a cutie. I wonder if other people find her as cute as I do, or if this is just like a pain in the ass. Like, put your dog down. Let's get to meditating. Look how dark her eyes are. I mean, if she just didn't have eyes, you'd be like, oh yeah, I guess that dog just doesn't have eyes. Her eyes are so her pupils are completely black. You can't see anything. The only way you can ever see them is if they reflect in the light. Like there, you saw them for like half a second there. If she looks up here, I'm going to manage her head for a second. See, you can see a little dot in her eye. But other than that, and for training a dog, it's very important that you know if they're looking at you, because if they're not, that's not good. And so it's just very funny. Dog is, less than ideal. And also, P.S., the dog has this new trait that it's picked up. Very exciting. It attacks people when you're meditating. So that's its new game. It like jumps up on you. So we'll see how this goes. Right now he is fully. I'm going to put the doggy cam on and show you this, even though our house is a little bit of a mess. Oh, it's gone. Okay, so I'll show you this anyway, even though it's a little. I don't know if I can show you. Okay, so swinging over here. This is Raquel meditating in our home. We could have Raquel meditation cam going, which she'll be attacked by the dog, not infrequently. But the dog keeps jumping up on Raquel over here, so that's what's happening with the doggy cam. I'll pause that for now. I realize the dog has a noise-making device. I'm going to grab the noise-making device from the dog, and then we'll begin. Oh yeah, so I want to work on equanimity practice is what we're talking about. 1 second, I got to get this noise-making device away from the dog. Okay, we're back. Okay, equanimity practice today. Okay, folks, so find a nice, comfortable position that you can maintain for the duration of the sit. We do this by arranging the body well. Exactly. Hello. Dog's gone. Okay, so arranging the body well, arranging the knees lower than the hips. We're going to be in complete stillness. If you find that you need to adjust at any point, go ahead, just wait 30 seconds, do so very slowly, do so through stillness, just avoiding impulsive movements. This is a great way to increase the power of our meditation. Rory says, I do find the second camera a bit distracting, but I work with it as any distraction. Well, we won't use it during the actual meditation itself. When it's on, it's, oh yeah, you mean like playing tug of war while we're talking? That makes sense. Okay. So hopefully my thought is that it might be entertaining, but we'll see. We'll have a discussion about that. Any other thoughts? I'm welcome to hear those. Okay, folks. So finding that nice, comfortable position, and when you're ready, we will begin. Beginning by taking a few comfortable deep breaths. Just feeling the body rise and fall. And by simply allowing ourselves to stay with the sensations of the body, either particular sensations or all of the body's sensations as a collective, we can find out the kind of mind we're arriving to this moment with. Is the mind very active, jittery, having a hard time staying with these sensations? Is the mind foggy or sleepy? And so we're simply coming back to what does it feel like to have a human body in this moment, to notice the experience of human breathing. As we physically relax the body, taking in the overall experience of the body's sensations, relaxing more than we can physically feel. And as we feel into the overall experience of our body's sensations, getting a general capture rather than looking for any particular detail, this soft gaze of body. Notice that one form of momentum is the practice, the formal meditation. The simple game of staying with the overall experience of the body. And in order for this game to have any level of challenge, any level of development or growth, there needs to be something pulling in the other direction, so it's natural. We'll experience distractions, be pulled to other sensations. And so the game is we simply return. Return and recognize that these sensations have never been felt in this moment. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And distractions, of course, will arise. This is natural. This is part of the game. So we simply return to the sensations of the body, knowing that we don't want to miss this one-time opportunity. At times the mind will zoom in to one particular sensation or some distraction. So we simply include the sense data around that small zoomed in area to include the overall experience of the body. The mind naturally zooms in, not a problem. We simply allow it to expand, including more material around it, until we can land at the overall body. So yes, it's the nature of the mind to be pulled towards distractions or zoom in on its own to thoughts, other sensations. But it's also the nature of the mind to prefer, to want one thing more than another, to dislike one thing, to like another. We might call this preferring. So at this moment, if you're enjoying the meditation, it's not a problem, it's just nature. Perhaps the system is preferring this. Or if there's some distraction, something that seems annoying, this is simply preference. Not necessarily you, but the body-mind, wanting or not wanting. And so today we're simply going to observe these forces pushing and pulling within us. Subtle craving, subtle aversion. To observe these as nature. So imagine for a moment that this moment, this arrangement of sense experience, this is how we're going to exist for the rest of eternity. This idea of being suspended in this experience can often bring up aversion, pointing out the parts of this experience that we don't like so much, maybe a little discomfort, maybe the sound of my voice. Maybe something that the mind reads as a distraction. So recognizing the body-mind pushing and pulling on all of these sense experiences, and recognizing that pushing and pulling is nature. Not something we need to change. Of course, the system at times will cling and avert. And imagining that this moment, this particular moment, is how we'll spend the rest of eternity, may create a different kind of clinging, perhaps a wanting for other experiences. A subtle sense that this experience is not enough. And we can get caught in this narrative. This is not enough. Or we can recognize that this craving is natural. Of course, our system wants variety, wants discomfort to disappear. And so our attitude is, yes, I see you. Welcoming clinging, welcoming aversion. And if it's helpful, even using this phrase, yes, I see you. So there's some sensation, some thought, some assessment that arises. The system likes or dislikes it, even subtly, wants or not wants. So we're not concerned with the sensation or the thought. These are replaceable. We're looking to embrace, welcome the resistance that arises around them. Perhaps locally or perhaps globally, noticing all resistance. The field of resistance all throughout the body, all throughout the mind. Noticing even the subtle need to know, to understand. Perhaps the need for this meditation to go well or elucidate something. Even the subtle need to exist. The body and mind clinging to perpetuate itself. Ah, yes, I see you. Welcome. Even seeing the part of us that holds itself separate, the observer, often the unconscious position that seems to be me, I, the part that's been watching this whole time. Recognizing even this as a form of holding on. There's a need to have a center, a safe perch to explore the world from. Ah, yes, I see you. Welcome. Noticing that we experience sense data in whatever form, seeing, hearing, feeling, and subtly the body-mind will push against this data, want some other sensation, imagine some other thought or experience would be better. In a subtle way, rejecting this moment. So rather than trying to stop that, embracing that process, I see you. Welcome. And I'd like you to notice a series of drives that will arise in the body, in the mind, as I say the following sentence. That we will remain in stillness until the bell goes silent. This is when we end the formal meditation. Noticing if just hearing about the potential end of the meditation sends the system into all sorts of planning, physical preparation, adding energy to the body, impulses to move. Seeing these two as the same material, the same clinging. Not bad, just nature. The desire of the body-mind to re-enter the imagined narrative of our lives. So staying with the practice, staying in stillness, allowing a tiny bit of light to enter the eyes, eventually allowing the eyes to rest on a single point. Letting the spaciousness of seeing expand the experience of awareness. Not trying to resist all of the impulses that come with opening our eyes, but accepting them as impulses, as natural drives. What would a life be like if we didn't have to listen to these drives? Would it be more or less peaceful? More or less freeing? And in this way, letting this particular moment be the great teacher. It shows us how we might bring this practice into every aspect of our life. Okay. What on earth was that experience like? I'm going to encourage you to use your digits, that digital technology you have right there, literally at your fingertips. And tell me what happened, what that was like and what you're like now. Experientially describing that material. If you'd like to use your voice, often we can get to more detail. I'm going to put the Zoom in the chat. Okay, hold on here. I want a doggy cam again. So this is the current doggy cam. That's Raquel, the doggy. I think Raquel's meditation timer went off. I think maybe Raquel's using us as a timer. And she has now embraced the dog's entreaties. I think she's still practicing though. So cute. This is a steering wheel that we bought to teach Raquel how to drive using VR. Although it's basically been used maybe once. This is this corner of my house. And actually, just for fun fact, over here, back behind this whole wall. This is where we're going to move the studio coming January. So back here is a room that we rent to a tenant, and now we're going to switch that. And that's no longer going to be a tenant's room. It's going to be our room, and it's going to be where the studio is, and hopefully, well, that's going to mean a more controlled environment, less stuff happening, that kind of thing. Okay, let's see here. Uh-oh. I said restore, you little knocker. Okay, trying to get to, here we go. Oops, YouTube video is probably going to play. Nope. Okay. Zoom. Okay, cool. Just trying to open up the dialog box so the computer can read this stuff to me. Uh-oh, sound's going to happen. Oh, sorry about that. It'll end soon. Okay, here we go, folks. Here we go. Denny, also known as Black Skulls Merton, says the following.
Working with aversion in the form of a tightness in my left hip. I could feel the restlessness and craving for change in my center, near my heart. I also got a text notification during the sit and felt this curiosity tugging at me. Nice to know that clinging and aversion are just feelings like anything else.
Yeah. So, and this gets to what I think is super important is so often there's like, let's call it the pain. It could be anything, but pain is a very good example. There's the pain, and we think the pain is the problem. We think it's like, ow, it hurts in my leg, or there's an emotion, or, oh, something is like agitating, this thing is annoying. We think it's the thing that is causing the turbulence of the problem. And so often it's actually the aversion to the thing. And by accepting the aversion, often that equanimity bleeds into the experience of the thing dramatically. They talk about first and second arrow in Buddhism, and the idea is the first arrow is the injury of some kind, and the second arrow is the resistance to it, which we shoot ourselves with. And we're always so worried about the first arrow, and it's the second arrow that's actually causing us the deep pain. So that, my friends, is what I'd say about that. That's great. Great clarity, by the way, Denny. Great description here. Great clarity. And I think, actually, I realized, hopefully I'm not blowing up your spot here, Denny. You had mentioned group mentorship, and we've been talking about restarting group mentorship because we basically, like, groups go for a while. They can go for a long time, and then they just sort of, life happens, etc., and they sort of, decay to some degree, and we either add more people to a group or we launch a new group. So we're thinking about launching new groups coming soon. So I think you mentioned that, and that might be a good idea. I realize Raquel's stretching at this point. I don't know if are you still practicing? Just stretching. I realize, sorry, this is not really stream stuff, but what the hell? We've been talking about doing new group mentorship groups for a while. I feel like that's like such a good, that might be a really good thing to do again. Anyway, that might be a really good idea. Okay, so we might do group mentorship things coming up. So that basically what group mentorship is it's a group of 6 to 8 people who are dedicated. We're kind of in a circle of people. It's selective. It's not like anyone can just hop in. Oh my goodness. Denny gifted a tier 1 sub to the Deep Mindfulness community. They've gifted a total of 4 in this channel. Oh my goodness, that is so kind. You exalted. I appreciate you very much being here, and thank you so much, Denny. That's so kind. I didn't even realize that you had gifted 4. That's so cool. That's really kind. Thank you so much. Also, P.S. I'm going to mention this. Is that a command? There we go. So if anyone has Amazon, you can subscribe to this channel for free. It supports us, and it takes money away from Amazon. So, I mean, it's a win-win. Okay, so, but the point, what I was saying was that group mentorship is a dedicated group of people working through the material that we think is important and working through specifically what's important to members of that group. And the group process is often really powerful in a way that, one-on-one can't be. Okay, so going back here, I don't want to miss anything. Sporty Race Girl says, I keep thinking about like how the name, your name or moniker, how it speaks about your personality. I'm very curious about like how those two things relate in reality. Okay, Sporty Risco says,
With thoughts in my head, I frequently had an acrimonious relationship with them. I see you as gentler way of witnessing them, and I didn't get as pulled in as much.
that's great. That's great. And, you know, when we start talking about clinging and aversion, usually people think of it as like big, like, ooh, I hate this whole group of people, or, you know, like prejudice, or, you know, this kind of thing. It's, we're using it to so broadly define any sort of the system using its own momentum to lean in any direction whatsoever. So at one point I mentioned like the drive to exist, and that might be very obscure and people might be like, what are you talking about? But there is this thing within the system that says existing. Like I gotta have a narrative. I gotta keep going. I've gotta, you know, go. So that's why our identity is so pernicious. Little doggy. I feel like part of the idea with the doggy cam is I like the dog so much. It feels like such like a meditative entity that I just want to share that with people, because doggy, so pleasant, such a pleasant little meditation thing. Maybe other people have their doggos, or maybe they just don't want to see mine. Maybe that's how it is. I don't know. We have one vote, which is from Rory, which is like, you know, doggy cam bad, or doggy cam distracting. Sela, why are you such a schmomp? Okay, you get out of here. Okay, excellent. Okay, Black Skulls Murdum gifted tier 1 subscription. Thank you so much. Very kind. Gabriel says,
It made me wonder, is aversion grasping a physical sensation? It felt glued to particular sensations layered on top of them, but could also relate to see in, hear in. It remembered me my Goika retreat, where the body scan made me realize subtler push and pull related to body sensation, but I maybe have less practice related to see and feel.
Great. So that is a great insight. That's actually exactly where I was going to go, is we actually talk about clinging. You know, I just don't want to say it like it is one thing, because it's as we get to subtler and subtler layers, I feel like at some point, you know, there was a monk who said something once, which I can't qualify because I don't like really broad statements like this, but I think that they can be useful. So he said every form of clinging is analogous to some sort of tightness in the body, which is a bold statement, because what he's saying is that if you relax the body enough physically, you would awaken, which is like, okay, well, that's a statement, you know, and it's a monk saying it, so he feels that it's orthodox, you know, that this is within the realm of orthodoxy. Usually monks try to be as orthodox as possible, so it's pretty interesting. So yes, there is one reading that could say it's analogous to the body, but I think it's a little bit chicken and egg, and I think that the mind can grip too. So here's an example, okay? This is an object, right? No confusing, right? Okay, so does that object still exist? Well, right now your mind is gripping to an image of that object, right? As far as you're concerned, there's no proof that this exists except for the mind holding something in order to track it. Now that's in Shinzen system, that's called see-in, mental seeing, the way the mind tracks material. And in detecting that, noticing my mind holding that, I can feel a tightness in part of my eye, you know, over here, etc. So I don't know which one, it's chicken and egg, which one comes first, but it doesn't matter which one is primary. It just matters which one is occurring and available at any given moment. So it is true, though, that often people will say, you know, for instance, I've never gone on a retreat and just done a body scan the whole time. I haven't done the Goenka retreat kind of thing. And so body scan is not the way that I'll practice. And I remember working with a teacher once I was saying I was, you know, struggling with certain practices, whatever. She's like, well, why don't you just do a body scan? And I was like, body scan it doesn't like click for me. She's like, yeah, but it's the easiest thing. Just do a body scan. And I was like, right. Have you been to Goenka retreats? And she's like, yeah, I've been to several. I was like, right. So I wasn't rude, but in my mind, I'm thinking, yes, you're familiar with this, so it's familiar, and so it's easy. So that's probably the case. If you can get better at see and feel. Oh, actually, I mean, feel is body. So see and hear. You can get better at see and hear, and beep up, beep up. You don't have to. if you want to, you can. It broadens your spectrum. It makes it possible to bring your skills out, which would be probably pretty fun. You could do a little bit of it. You don't have to become as much of an expert as you are with body scans, but it might be really interesting. Might get some clarity that you wouldn't otherwise have. Then he says, felt some clinging to recognition. Once we start realizing how subtle all of these different pieces are, it is like, wow, the system is really holding on to a lot of data. This, in my last psychedelic journey, it was probably about a month ago, kind of right now is about 1 month ago, which I can't believe. It seems like, I mean, that was when, it was just a month ago. I can't believe this. It was just about a month ago that Joe Biden got, he clinched the nomination. It's like insane. So that was about a month ago. And it just feels like years ago. It's like there's already been a whole, I don't know, it feels like a long time. So, P.S. Is it 25? There's like 22 days left of this year, right? It's like so crazy. It's so great. I'm happy. I mean, whatever. I'm happy that this year is ending, even though I don't necessarily think, the chaos will end with it. But so, we're going back here to what, clinging recognition. We can just start to notice the sense of clinging. Oh, that's what I was saying in my last psychedelic journey, was that there kept being this overwhelming, or this underlying thing of, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to. And what that was referring to is that clinging in all of these different forms is this implication that you need to. This is a need. You must do X. You must keep the world together. You must keep this self going. You must, and it's like it keeps doing it. And so if we simply observe those things and see them as nature, they suddenly don't have anything to push or pull against. It's like if you think of like a swimmer in a pool, if they're against the side of the pool, they can kick off and get a bunch of momentum. But if they're in the middle of the pool, there's nothing to kick off from. And so we give it enough space that suddenly these things that push and pull us constantly and feel yucky, etc., suddenly are just different pressures within the system. Lovely. So Jean here, if anyone doesn't know, I asked Jean recently to see if we can get clear descriptions of the experience. I want to see if this happens. It might not be. Maybe that's not what Jean's doing today, but that was a request.
I think the detailed comments you made about the breath has helped me stay focused on it. For example, I didn't know you could feel the breath in your feet, so didn't try to pay attention to that. Now I do. I'm not sure if it's a direct result, but my concentration feels much greater this week. Today I didn't feel a strong sense of clinging or aversion, although I did feel grateful and happy to sit today, thanks to you all.
Excellent, great. And yeah, it's one of those things where until someone points it out or until we notice it ourselves, we don't notice that the breath can actually be detected everywhere. And detecting it everywhere can be very satisfying and relieving. And what you'll actually notice, you can detect the breath everywhere as a kind of like scintillating or like bubbling. This is PT. This is the description of PT, which is a kind of glittering, sensation in the body. A lot of Kundalini stuff. The Kundalini tradition will talk about this sort of energy in the body. Again, it's so weird when you talk about energy because it sounds so weird, mystical, but I'm talking about like literally the same thing of like, you eat a good meal so you have energy, or you don't sleep all night long so you don't have energy. It's like physical energy in the body. So you can feel this sort of bubbliness everywhere. And at some point you can actually let go of the breath itself. You're not worried about the breath itself. You're just noticing that scintillating material everywhere. That is one way to go. A group sounds nice. Excellent. Very glad to hear that. Okay, Exalted Bro says the following.
I feel strange tremors throughout the body. Sometimes these work as a wormhole and give me a deep plunging feeling, and I feel a kind of opening and dropping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, opening and dropping, tremors. So a couple things. One is that kriyas, the body sort of moving suddenly or like, kind of gyrating or whatever. This happens. It's not a sign of anything good or bad. It's just often sometimes the system will like just be moving in some way. Sometimes people will say it's like sort of processing emotion for some people. Sometimes it's just literally like the body starts to spasm. You'll see people meditating and they'll sort of be rocking unintentionally. They won't even know that it's happening, this kind of thing. So those sort of things, if that's what you're describing, are natural. And a kind of wormhole. So what you're describing here in terms of a wormhole is Excellent. It's lovely. It's the experience of material potentially wormhole, a deep plunging feeling. That plunging feeling might be the sort of disappearance of material. Might be sort of the passing or gone of material. Things that are here and suddenly they sort of go ka-chunk, fall down. If you follow that sensation of the disappearing, the ending, the collapsing, that can be a path towards stream entry in that way. You are very welcome for the sub. Well, that's so nice. Thank you, folks, for being sweet to each other. That's very appreciated. So, folks, any other questions, comments, interest, opportunities as they arise? I want to check my schedule because it's very possible I could have somebody coming up and I need to jump off. Not ready yet. Yes, after the plunging, I feel something is different, and I'm slightly lighter. Okay, yeah, great. And just basically, what you can do if you want. Again, we talked before about stability. This can drive towards less stability. Now, you want to just check in. Is this making me feel less combobulated? Afterwards, is it harder to navigate the world? This kind of thing. And it might be, but that might also be okay. You're like, yeah, it feels lighter and more spacious, and I'm totally fine. Or it might be like psychologically or emotionally like too much, and it's like, yeah, I come out of a meditation, I'm just agitated and cranky for the rest of the day. This kind of thing. So, just to assess that is one thing, and then you can follow that pretty deeply. And look for what's remaining, because it's like something ka-chunk, something disappears, but then there's a sense of something that remains. Maybe even the viewer is that ka-chunking of things dropping off and sort of collapsing this way. Does it include the thing that is viewing the experience? Because that'll get very solid and everything will seem to be falling away around it. But noticing that anything that is solid is actually dynamic. So this is one thing that's very interesting about our senses, is that often things that feel very, very stable are actually two forces pushing against each other. We might not know what the forces are, but we know what the result is, what the turbulence created between the two is, and that's this sense of stability. So even stability is an indication of flow in that way. Denny says,
unrelated to today's sit, but I've been working with Bracington's jhana book. I am finding it very challenging to observe the breath without controlling it. I recently had the realization that pretty much every time I meditate, I've been controlling the breath pretty directly.
Yeah. So here's what I'm going to say about control. The tendency of the mind is to take a lot more responsibility for things that are happening than it actually has. In other words, it's like it starts noticing the breath and says, "Ooh, I'm controlling it." And it's like, yeah, I mean, maybe, but even if there's a little bit of efforting in there, like, okay, I'm going to make it a little deeper and a little this, a little that, it's very minimal compared to the actual, like, functioning of the body. And so often when we start paying attention to the breath, we think that we're controlling it, and the mind obsesses about this little teeny tiny bit of control that might be there. And honestly, that little bit of control is so minor, I would almost just ignore the whole question of control and just let the body breathe. And sometimes the mind will think, I'm controlling the breath. And it's like, are you? Like, you don't control the breath 99% of your life. So just because you're observing now and you see a little bit of control, are you really controlling it? It's like, probably not. The machine is breathing, and then there's some sense of agency tied onto that you're doing it. But I mean, the likelihood, I think, is that you're not controlling the breath. So that's one thing. And also, I'll just mention that in doing a lot of, I mean, not really directly through Lee, but who's a very sweet guy. I remember I emailed him a question once, and he like got back and was like, "Hey, what's up? Yeah, here's the answer." Really involved answer. It's very sweet. So, very nice guy. I don't know if it's because I don't know if there's some other reason whatever. But he was very nice and replied and got back to me. So let's see here. I was going to mention something. Oh, I found that I actually was like, don't control the breath, don't control the breath. And I sort of like, no, I'm going to control the breath. And so I realized that if I breathe in a certain way, not like a lot of control, but if I, chill out a little bit with the breathing, don't like just in a way, it's like let the system get into a rhythm of breathing relatively slowly, There's also some jhana exercises where you do a little bit of a push, where it's like, actually, if folks want to do this now, if you've been noticing breathing throughout the body, notice what happens when you do this. So breathe in a way where there's a little bit of resistance, like not like a lot, but just a little bit, and see if you can notice what occurs when there's a little bit of resistance, a little bit of a push in the breath. And letting go. Sometimes it can create this kind of glowing breath PT sensation that can kind of expand throughout the body. So yes, don't control the breath, but also just don't overestimate how much you're controlling the breath, because I've done breath control stuff where I'm controlling the breath, and it wasn't a problem. I think people get a little obsessed on control. So that hopefully that's helpful and not just like another direction to make you worry about, like, now I'm worrying about control and I'm supposed to not worry about control, whatever. But I would just attend to the sensations of the breath, because worrying about if I'm controlling the breath and if this and if that is not the sensations. So just so you know, you can totally control the breath, just like fascistically control the breath and still really dive into the sensations. Now, I don't suggest you do that. It's much harder, and don't worry about it too much is my final thing. Like something has been released. Yeah, exactly. Jean says, in the interest of time, I'll comment about last week on Friday. Okay. You can comment now. I think we're still pretty early in the stream, but whatever you like. You might be better off doing it now, just so we have a little content. I mean, Friday might be really exciting and bells and whistles, and something else might be worth describing there. But no pressure. Sometimes it feels great, sometimes it makes me anxious. Yeah. So you're talking about the release experience. So again, it's just to turn to the anxiousness and say, yes, I see you. Turn to the aversion of that. Yes, I see you. Not a problem. You can use even a heart practice and say, I love you, and say kind words to that sensation. You can use the metta practice, and say, may you be peaceful, may you be peaceful. Denny, question for you. Elderly Squirrel is alive now. That's interesting. Okay, so question for you. Let's see here, Denny. I think I sent you the guided meditations that we talked about. I don't remember. Tell me if I did, and if I didn't, let me know, because I'm pretty sure I sent it. I might have just not hit send. I was getting that together for you. Beep up. Yes, excellent. Very glad. Okay, good. Good times. I got to fix that link. I'm not sure what's going on there. So, folks, let's see. Exalted says, here we are.
What kind of inner challenges do you face in life? Can you give me a practical example of, because of meditation, you have bigger problems but also bigger solutions?
Well, bigger problems and bigger solutions. So I think one of the things I'll just say, like on a broad sense, so how has meditation actually created inner challenges? Well, in a way, it's like, trying to think of like an analogy. In a retreat, when you go to a retreat, often what'll happen is we'll think our minds are more and more distracted. People early on, the first few days, will report, my mind is just it's getting louder and louder, when actually they're just noticing more and more subtlety. They're getting more and more clear about what's actually occurring. So my experience has actually been, because I can process a lot of emotion, my system has learned, hey, it's safe to process emotion. We're going to bring up some old emotions that you've never processed, things from childhood, etc. And so I think in the past 15 years, 16 years, which is when I've really dedicated myself to this process, is I've felt more pain than I've ever felt before that in my life, guaranteed. And it's in the sort of drive of purification, sort of feeling it in order to move through that experience. I think it was Churchill, and he said, if you're going through hell, no, I think it might have been American, I can't remember, but he said, if you're going through hell, keep going. If someone can remember who said that quote, that's great. So that is, that's basically the general premise here, is that to process the experience. So, I feel a lot more emotion, but I know it way ahead of time versus it feeling overwhelming. Today, okay, so I'm not sure how much TMI this is or if it'll make any sense. Today I had this sudden thought of like, I like my life, right? I was like, I like my life. But Raquel and I have been, basically because we're like so compact, we've been like, there's been like a tension, and Raquel wants to get an office so she can have her own space. And when I have brought up things in the past that are like, you know, hey, like things are good or whatever, it'll be irritating to Raquel because she's like, but these are the things I'm annoyed about. And part of her feels like I'm denying her experience, right? So this is complex. This is regular couple stuff. But I noticed this sense of like, wow, I like my life. And then notice this resistance and this concern that it could upset Raquel. Now, I don't know that it really would have necessarily, but I brought that up to Raquel. We talked about it for a second. She's like, no, that's fine. You know, we just sort of talked it through. And so you could say, you know, like if you had not noticed any of that, you'd be in a much better position, right? You don't notice the pain, you don't notice the fear, you don't have the tough conversation, you don't, but all of those are good problems. Those are things I want to do. So that's what I would say. That's my general take there. Jean says, oh, it was Churchill. Okay, there you go. Jean says,
fair enough. The thing I noticed was that after about 20 minutes of my mind jabbering and feeling like I couldn't get physically comfy, in the last 5 minutes that all quieted down. When I opened my eyes, I felt focused and clear. It was more like the absence of something rather than what was there. I dare say I was feeling rest.
Lovely. Okay, excellent. And so it's important, and I'm sure you know, Jean, that that 20 minutes of the mind jabbering isn't a problem. It's just nature. And we don't want to think that our practice is going to go perfectly linearly. It's just going to be like less and less mind activity and more equanimity, etc. It really is, you know, it's an up and down process that is going in any direction, and that's the general drive here. So that's generally it. Is that overall things tend to move more in the direction of what's important to us, and that's great. That's great clarity. Thank you for that report. Exalted says, so living an unexamined life is like living in ignorant bliss to some degree, right? The bliss is limited, and I think that that's the thing that we realize, is that this way of living, like in a way, it's like trying to think of a nice example. It's like, imagine you're sick, right? Someone who's sick but doesn't know they're sick, should they go to the doctor? Well, that's a good question. It depends what's more important. This comes back to values. Is it more important to you to have a short amount of time where you can feel like there's nothing wrong and you don't have to worry about sickness, you don't have to take care of yourself, or would you rather have an extra 20 years of your life or 60 years of your life and have a difficult experience and have a surgery, potentially, these kind of things? Like, which do you want more? Which is more important? And it's a matter of values. So for some people, like living a very superficial life, that is the way they want to live. They want to have fun. They want to like party. You know, this is what we see in like kids, and like when you see these videos of like people at spring break, like it seems very much like they want to live a like crazy and intense unexamined life and just like party. And it's like, for me, that often feels very vapid and empty. And I'm like, oh, I don't really want that. So for me, it would not work to try to just shut my life off and just drink and party with my friends. Like, I want something different. Or like shut myself off and just scroll through the phone. That does feel good at times, but is that what I want out of my life? Coming back to values in this way. So yeah, that's generally how I'd say that. What else, folks? So folks, as we're hanging out here, if anyone has not followed, hit the follow button with the might of a terrifying samurai, and you'll get to know when we're going live. You'll also get to be in the Cool Guys Club. That's what we call it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, follow here, and then we'll get to meditate together. You know, there's a truism. I have had many people, organizations, institutions, individuals come to me and say, listen, come here. Okay, I really want the benefits of meditation. How do I get those? Except there's one thing I just don't want to do. I'm not really willing to do it. It's meditate. So tell me how I get these benefits, but not with this thing that I don't want to do. And my answer is you can't do that. So, folks, meditation is the way to get the benefits of meditation. That's how that thing works. Is partying for unconscious people? No, here's what I want to say. Unconsciousness is a natural part of human experiencing. So we want to use it consciously. I know that sounds a little silly, but if we say, listen, here's a good example, sleeping, right? You go unconscious when you sleep, right? Is that bad? Well, no, I need to rest. Okay, well, good. So that's systemically, salient. I have a hard week. I have an intense time. I want to play with my puppy, right? Is that unconsciousness? A little bit. It's not like examining, like plumbing the depths of my emotional, challenges, but it is a little bit of like, or maybe let's easier example. I just want to watch a movie. I got Disney Plus recently, and I've been watching all these Marvel movies again, which some of them I'm really surprised at. Like some hold up, some don't for me, but I'm really surprised. I'm like, these are pretty well done. Even the ones that are like, I saw Thor Ragnarok again. Man, what a great movie. That movie is so well done. I kept stopping the movie and being like, Raquel, this is so well done. It's like, it holds up so well. And what's crazy, sorry, I'm going on a rant here for a minute. What's crazy is the guy who directed it. I always forget how to pronounce his name, but he's a really great director. He had only directed one movie before that, and it was a comedy movie about vampires like living in the world today called What We Do in the Shadows. It also had a show, both very funny, both highly recommended. And then they just gave him an entire Marvel movie, and it was excellent. It totally like changed the way Marvel movies, or changed an aspect of Marvel movies dramatically. Such a good thing. Anyway, the point is that sometimes I just want to like take a break. I just don't want to do it unconsciously. Like, I don't want to think about anything. I'm just going to take a break, because that just breeds more unconsciousness. I want to consciously say, I don't have any obligations right now. I just want to party with my friends maybe, or I don't really party with friends. We do party, but we don't use substances or whatever. I want to watch a movie, etc. So we just want to do so consciously and know that it fits into our overall values. Again, it's balancing values. Let's see here. Is partying for unconscious people? Exalted says, what would you say there have been people who have started this process and disliked the outcome? Well, I'm sure they've disliked aspects of the outcome. I have a friend who I won't get into detail on who they are or whatever, but they were an evangelical Christian, and they had this gets to this question. They had a very solid way of relating to the world. They saw the world in one very specific way. It was the way of the evangelical perspective. It was pretty orthodox, and they were fully in. This is not someone who's like at the edge. They were really in, and they picked up meditation, sort of against the church's recommendation. I think they recommend people do not meditate. And they had just to reduce stress, and they had a radical experience where it rewrote their relationship to all of their own perception. And from that revelation, they couldn't believe in this belief system that they had used as their foundation for all of their life. And they could have gone back and just been like, okay, I don't care about these things. I don't care about my new perspective. I don't care. I want this more than I want that. But they didn't, and they decided that they preferred this new perspective. But they did say, and I think this is a really good point, no one ever warned them, and they think it's unethical to not warn people that this could change your way of relating to the world. I remember talking to somebody, this is related to like doing ayahuasca or whatever, which I've never done. I'm not opposed to it in any way, but it's just fun fact, I've never done it. And they were saying, I don't know, man. They were saying that they never wanted to do it. This is a photographer. This is our old next door neighbor. I never want to do, ayahuasca. I said, oh, really? It seems like you feel strongly about that. Why is that? And he said, well, I had a friend who did ayahuasca, and he was a photographer too. And he realized his photography just totally was unfulfilling. He hated doing it, and he just moved and is now living in like Colombia, like doing projects, and like maybe he opened a restaurant or something like something totally different. And he just like gave up the life that he had and just did this other thing because he feels like this is more meaningful to him. He's like, I never want that experience. And I was like, excuse me, a check please. To me that seems like that's clinging to the bliss of ignorance. So that's my drive. That's my thing there. By that I mean wanting to go back to ignorant bliss. Honestly, I don't know. That's a question. It's not my experience. Maybe anyone here has had sort of deep experiences in meditation can tell me, have they, because typically the party line is no, 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 but it is not universally positive. Meditation is not just like guaranteed to only be good things. It can bring challenges. But Exalted, having known a number of your questions, my sense is that you have a lot of worry about what the path of meditation could do to you. And honestly, I mean, this is just my shot in the dark, and I think it's important to warn people. I don't think you should be as worried as you might be. I think more so you want to look at what is important to you, because ultimately you just want to move towards what's important to you in your life. It doesn't matter if meditation moves you there, or you quit meditation and you just do so through any other means of life, through your friends and through your, fitness routine, whatever it is. What's important to you over and over again? What is important to me? Why am I doing this? What's the reason for this? Because that brings us down to like the essence of who we are. And that's really important. So I just wouldn't worry as much. Because think about within that worry, what are you looking for? Because it sounds like you're looking for some kind of safety, some kind of security. Why are you asking this question? That's a very good question to ask. Why is this important to me? And instead of following the thing, well, it's important because it is, and I want to know, and what's the underlying need? I need to know this because it will provide me X. It'll provide me safety. It'll provide me comfort. It'll provide me security. It'll provide me a sense of direction. Like what of these things is actually the truth? And then ignore the question and just look for that sense of direction. Just look, what else will bring me the sense of direction? What else will bring me the sense of, security, whatever we're asking for. Maybe meditation is it, maybe not. Probably going to be helpful generally. Okay, we got some comments here from Gabriel. Gabriel says this and then another thing.
Just a random question. Any ideas on how to practice laying down in bed when just waking up in the morning when the mind is foggy, confused, and just out of dreams?
Yes, and then you say,
let's say I don't want to get up already, wake up completely and sit to meditate.
Yeah. So, I mean, the short version is whatever will get you to be conscious of your experience. Actually, I recommend to people generally going into sleep to practice until you become unconscious. As soon as you wake up in the night and you're like where am I? I'm rolling over, whatever, back into practice. When you wake up in the morning, back into practice. This will teach the mind to learn to meditate in your sleep. And you'll start to have these deeper experiences while you wake up and suddenly realize you're in some sort of place meditationally. I don't think that's a word, but whatever. Yes, you can learn to meditate in your sleep. Sounds crazy, 100% possible. So the answer is anything that works. Listen to sound. Stretch, this might be a nice thing, is physically stretching your body and notice those sensations like really deeply. Notice any sense of relief that comes along with those. Something that I find is often, this is something I really love. If there's an impulse if there's like a resistance, sometimes I resist getting up. It's like, the alarm rung. I don't really want to live life. Like I just want to really, really, really hang out with a resistance. This happens at night when I'm like, I half want to go to the bathroom and I half just want to keep sleeping. And I know that if I keep sleeping, I'll just like not sleep very well and have dreams about needing to go to the bathroom or something. So I just hang out with a resistance and just notice the system resisting and allow the resistance. And just like we're doing today, allowing the resisting. And at some point, without even trying to, I'll just find myself getting out of bed. We live in a loft, our building is a loft, but the bed is lofted too. So it's like 8 feet off the ground. And it's like, it's work to get out of bed and go across the entire house, the exact opposite side of the house, and, go. So noticing the resistance is actually quite helpful. So basically, it's like any meditation you want, just find out what works for you. That's my general breakdown here. Exalted says yes, in reference to what I was saying before.
Yes, I've been kind of running towards awakening for the sake of awakening, seeing only the good advertisement of it, and recently being stopped in my tracks by this new info.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind that when we assess a medical procedure, when we assess taking a medication, when we assess going on vacation, when we assess risks related to COVID, right? It's like, am I going to go to the supermarket? These kind of things. the question of should I go to the supermarket at this point, we're sort of okay. We're like, we realize, okay, if I have masks and everyone else has masks and we're all socially distanced and I'm only in there for a little while, it's pretty safe, right? If we just focus on the fact that like COVID can kill you, right? And that's like the primary thing. We just think about that. We're going to lose out the opportunity to get groceries, you know? So yes, assess, but also know that just because there is a potential downside doesn't mean that it is the dominant feature. Even the people who have the downside experiences get through it. Typically, there are rare circumstances where people don't. But you know, I mean, I'll tell you that I've had long periods of what we might call dark night experiences, and they've been incredibly rich points in my life. Like they're, you know, like I just have a lot of emotional intensity, and that's what's happening. But I have the tools to get through it. I know what it is, usually, hopefully, and I know where to seek support. And those are all like just important things. So getting clear on my values, getting clear on my support system, those are all really important parts. And usually I don't see any problem if people just, you know, it's probably not as bad as you think it might be, honestly, just to be, give my full honest, experience. Zen Mind says, is it possible to be in a state of pure awareness and not meditate anymore? So this is a definitions question. Meditation, we talk about it as being the volitional part of knowing our experience. So I'm going to meditate. So I'm going to sit down and get the system going, and I'm going to attend to this thing. And this is what we tend to associate with meditation. Shinzen tells a story that's pretty funny, where the scientists are going to, observe his brain, and they wire him up and all this stuff, and they say, "Don't start meditating yet. We have to start up all the machines." And he's like, don't start meditating. Like there's no, the system is just meditating. I can meditate more, but the system is meditating. So you could say, is there a state of pure awareness where you're not meditating anymore? What you're describing there is like, if I repeated a phrase in my mind a bunch of times, let's say 100 times or 100,000 times, would there be a point where without any effort whatsoever, the phrase would just be running in my brain? It'd be saying, peas and carrots, peas and carrots, peas and carrots, and I don't have to do anything, and it's just going. Well, yeah, of course, yes. And that is actually what we're training our system towards. We train the mind in a direction long enough that eventually the brain and the body mind says, oh, you want me to stay here. So it clicks over. Does that mean we don't meditate? Well, we can always meditate more and advance the system. And think about it like you have these peak experiences or depth experiences, and then you have your baseline. So we exist at our baseline. If we're not trying to do anything, we exist at our baseline, and then we have these peak experiences on retreats, or someone guides you in a psychedelic journey or something. You have this depth experience, and then you come back to your baseline. In meditation, the baseline is always moving down, moving down, moving down, moving down, moving down. So what experience you're having now at the depth of your meditation will be the norm of your ordinary experience in some time, in a few years. So how do you ask that question? Is there a state of pure awareness where you're not meditating? Well, yeah, I mean, if at this level where your baseline is now, you call this pure awareness, at some point you will not have to effort and you will just be hanging out there. But there will be always more depth. So yes and no, it's sort of hard to state that exact experience. And many traditions say that is exactly the goal. That's what we're trying to do, is have this experience of pure awareness without any efforting. That is a standard experience. I've heard of yogis dissolving the mind permanently. Well, I'm jumping ahead here because that's what you said next. That is a definitional issue. What do you call the mind? I describe the mind as two primary activities. Maybe I'll say three. I've been sort of toying with this lately, but let's say two primary activities. Visual activity, auditory activity. That is the mind. Dissolve the mind permanently? I don't know if anyone could navigate the world without having the ability to use visual thinking. Visual thinking is the way that you can get to the bathroom at night even if the lights are off. Like the mind will show you a direction. It shows you how to reach out for something and grab a cup and, manage these things. So dissolve the mind, I don't know, what does that mean? They would have to define what the mind means. They'd have to define what dissolve means. And this is, are there permanent changes to our perception? Absolutely. Is the stickiness of the continuity of narrative of self and world broken down over time? Absolutely. Did we dissolve the mind? I think we actually just have contact with the nature of mind, and we have much less resistance to the nature of experiencing. And we experience the resistance as nature. This is what we're exploring today. Exalted said, or should I say, new life plus scary experiences, seeing it's not all good. I'm not sure that I follow. I think you're talking about before. Yes, I've been kind of running away from so I've been stopped in my tracks by this new experience, or should I say new information, scary experiences, seeing it's not all good. Yeah. So you've talked about that some fear has arisen in your practice, and that's been scary, the fact that fear is arising. So remember, there's fear, which is probably not a problem, and then there's the resistance to the fear that might be a much bigger problem. So just notice that resistance. Notice that the system in the mind has said, meditation is this ideal, perfect thing, and it's got to be this way, it's got to be controlled, it's got to be managed, and that's the problem. That's the thing that's coming up as a resistance point. So go ahead and acknowledge the resistance to that, the resistance to it being different than you thought. Try to soak that in and recognize that's natural. Of course the system's going to be afraid of something that's unknown. I totally understand. And see if that reduces the turbulence within yourself, because that's probably a good way to go. In a way, it's like to be less worried or to accept the resistance as natural. I think those will both be excellent ways to go. And maybe the second one is probably more practical. Okay. I'll do this as last comment unless a bunch of stuff floods in. This is Exalted again.
The fear is not much of a problem anymore. Never was anything crazy, but just something that made me reassess things.
Great. Yeah, let it be what it is. The system was afraid. The system will be afraid. Guess what? Fear is natural. Of course it's going to be afraid. Things are scary. That's a normal thing. So just know that it's ordinary. Everyone has the experience of fear. It's just a sensation. Doesn't mean anything. And we just don't want to listen to those drives and those fears and those clinging and aversion without some degree of consciousness on top, so we don't just get pulled into this universe. Excellent, excellent. So folks, let's see here. Our friend Johnny is still streaming. I kind of want to, I know we're at the end of his stream, so I raid his stream, and then it ends up being over in 10 seconds. So is there anyone El Dirty Squirrel is also streaming. Let me see real quick. Who is El Dirty Squirrel again? I remember I followed them at some point. Who is this again? Wait, is this this is an advertisement? I don't want to watch this. Okay, give me 1 sec, folks. It's a Doritos advertisement. We're watching Doritos. Okay, Doritos. I want to see who this person is, because we might raid their stream. Yeah, you're advertising Doritos. I get it. Okay. Oh, I see 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2. No, we're not going to raid this one. Maybe Johnny. Oh boy, Johnny's laying on the ground here. Yeah, this will be fun to raid Johnny. Okay. Okay, well, I want to raid. So we're going to pop over here, over to our friend Johnny now. Sweet guy. Where is this? Here we go. I think Johnny now is listening to a meditation, so I thought it'd be fun to raid Johnny. So folks, great to see you. We'll be back here in less than 48 hours for Freaky Friday, where we are going to explore the detail of your interests. What are you interested in? Maybe you want to explore fear. Maybe you want to explore gratitude. Whatever you want, we'll go with that. We'll build a meditation just for you. So we're going to raid now. See everybody very soon. Here we go.